Good morning.
Allo Allo is one of the BBC's most successful sitcoms, running for 9 whole seasons between 1982 and 1992. It also stands as the only such sitcom that got a video game based upon it. Yep, it's Weird World of Licensed Games time again. Will the antics of Rene and his friends translate into video game form? I guess we'd better find out. Allo Allo is set during the Second World War and centres around cafe owner Rene, as he is constantly beleaguered by the general ineptitude and hapless scheming of everyone around him. From the Nazis, French resistance, British airmen, Gestapo, his wife and her mother, poor Rene is dragged into plots and counterplots that typically revolve around either smuggling British airmen out of the country back to England, or protecting the infamous painting of the fallen Madonna with the big boobies by Van Klomp. Either way, the plans usually result in everyone getting in way over their heads and producing a good old-fashioned farce. It's simple, but it's effective. Very effective. Originally a somewhat spoof of the BBC drama Secret Army, as you can probably tell by the striking similarities between the main characters, the show became a huge hit, lasting 9 seasons and becoming one of the BBC's classic sitcoms along the likes of Only Fools and Horses and Dad's Army. And who remembers Secret Army? I'd never even heard of it until looking into the history of the show for this video. Unlike other British sitcoms though, it was also a huge success outside of the country. Across Europe, Allo Allo was broadcast with resounding success, and even more remarkably, it was also a hit in the United States, which was basically unheard of for British comedy. This success even changed the show. Season 5 was aired specifically to accommodate airing in the US, producing 26 episodes as would be in a typical US series, and shortening the runtime by 5 minutes per episode to allow for commercials. I think Allo Allo's runaway success is twofold. One, at its core, it's just simple, silly farce. The setups of absurd plans, costumes, slapstick humour and visual gags translate and transgress borders, and provide a very universal humour. Also, every character and nationality is open to ridicule. Rene, the snooty French cafe owner, shrugging his shoulders at the absurdity of life as he drinks a wine or two. The Nazis presenting themselves as masters of order, but constantly revelling in their deviancy and corruption. The British being unable and unwilling to properly learn another language, instead resorting to shouting very loudly, or as in the famous case of Officer Crabtree, butchering the language. The characters become very quickly and well established, sporting their very well-worn catchphrases that you know they will say, but nevertheless are always welcome and funny. While there was hardly ever any deviation from this formula, the show did actually have a noticeable progression, starting off in 1942 with the Germans thoroughly winning the war and planning an invasion of Britain, to the later seasons where the German characters are worried about a British invasion of France, eventually ending the show with the liberation of the cafe and the arrival of British troops. After 9 seasons of the same catchphrases and go-arounds, some people were probably a bit weary of the same thing, but to me it was always a case of not fixing what was never broken. You know what you were expecting to see when you turned on the show, and you still felt rewarded when it gave it to you. Anyway, after the show's final episode in 1992, excluding one-off specials in 1994 and 2007, a year later a video game was released in 1993 for Amiga platforms entitled Allo Allo Cartoon Fun! It's perhaps not odd that the game would be released after the series had concluded. It was still rerun for a number of years after. I remember it specifically being shown Saturday nights or Sunday afternoons well into the 90s. The game was developed and published by British company Alternative Software. Looking at their gaming catalogue, there's a lot of games based on very British TV shows, here including Bullseye, yep, there was a Bullseye game, Count Duckula, yep, there were 2 Count Duckula games, Postman Pat, yep, there were 3 Postman Pat games, and Thomas the Tank Engine games, yep, there were a lot of these. The name is familiar to me, and maybe to you if you've been following this video series, as the publisher of the 1993 Dennis and Gnasher game based on the Beano comic character that I covered in the last video. Although, that one was cancelled before released. Interestingly though, looking at this advert for the Allo Allo game, the game is listed as one to look out for by the same publisher. They really must have expected it to be released. How odd. Anyway, go watch my video on that if you're interested in the story behind that one. As I did mention in the previous video, 1993 was quite late to be releasing games on Amiga computers, so it's understandable you may not have heard of this one. It did get a release in France, Italy, Spain, And surprisingly, Germany too, since the series didn't air there until 2008. Right, let's boot this game up and take a look. It seems to work fine on an Amiga 500. Here's the title screen, and leaving it to run shows us the high score, which seems to be populated by Smithy, Plug, Danny, Toots, the Bash Street Kids? Huh, okay, we're back to B now again. We next see the cast of Allo Allo scrolling by. All the cast of the show are here, with the exception of Edith's mother and Master of Disguise Leclerc. Maybe he's just in disguise somewhere.
It is I, Leclerc. I am disguised as a clown.
The main menu lets us turn on and off music and sound effects and number of players. Yep, this has a 2-player mode. We'll take a look at the game's interesting multiplayer mode later. So let's start the game, and we'll get an introduction to our first mission. Find all of the copies of the painting of the fallen Madonna with the big boobies by Van Klomp. We're playing as René himself, and we'll have to platform our way through the levels to find the sausages scattered about. This opening level takes place in and around Café René, giving us a chance to explore the primary setting of the show. Oh look, there's a dog peeing, cool. You'll quickly find all sorts of objects scattered throughout the levels you can pick up, and these will be ammunition for your primary method of attack, throwing random stuff at enemies. You'll notice at the bottom of the screen you'll see what we're looking for, 6 sausages. Let's head on into the cafe and we'll see René's long-suffering wife Edith and a bunch of soldiers wandering about. Whenever you see one of the characters from the show, they will be able to help you in a variety of ways, as long as you throw an item at them anyway. Launching something at Edith causes her to break out in song, which, if you know the show, brings audial horror to anyone within earshot, stunning the soldiers and allowing you to pass them. Here's our first sausage, and alongside that a bottle of beer, which serves as our health, giving René liquid courage apparently. When all his courage evaporates, he just returns to his home planet or something, and goes to hide in a cupboard.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
You only get 1 life, but unlimited continues, so every time you game over, you'll have to start at the beginning of the level and collect all of the items again. The main issue with the gameplay loop is that you'll be wandering backwards and forwards around the level trying to find the items you need, and this means a lot of backtracking. Given that there's only a limited number of throwable items you can pick up, eventually you'll run out, and because most enemies are only stunned for a short time, if you run out of items, you won't be able to get past them without getting hit. Anyway, let's continue to explore the cafe, and we'll come across Mimi LeBlanc, who will pop open some champagne to distract more soldiers. When we've done all we can of the cafe, we can head back outside and go down into the sewers populated by eternal video game enemies Bats, as well as familiar Nazis Gruber and Klinkerhoffen. You can also find Officer Crabtree, who, when you throw something at him in any of the levels, gives you a host of goodies, as well as one of the necessary items you are looking for. Eventually, after finding all 6 sausages, you'll take them to the end of the level, which is marked by a scarecrow of Hitler in a dress? What am I supposed to say to that? The next level takes place on a train, and René is tasked with collecting some forged money so that she can bribe the driver to stop the locomotive. This one is a lot simpler than the first level, because you can't really have a maze on a moving train, can you? You can either go left or right to find the required items. From your starting position, there's 4 bundles to your left and 4 to your right, and then you head to the driver. You'll notice along the way you can collect stars and other such junk which do nothing but add to your score, which is only really useful if you want to dethrone the Bash Street Kids from the high score table. There's also coins you can occasionally get, and collecting 10 of those will grant you invincibility for about 5 seconds, which is essentially useless. The third level has you arrive in a forest with the objective of finding Officer Crabtree and collecting exploding squirrels for a bomb. Huh? Exploding squirrels? That raises questions that I surely never get answers to. This level takes us back to the maze-like level of level 1 to find the squirrels, searching in trees, and moving through various parts of the forest. We'll start off by avoiding these soldiers that I think are meant to be an homage to Corporal Pike from Dad's Army, another BBC sitcom. Yvette can help you by distracting the guards too. First, find Officer Crabtree to get the bombshell or something, then you'll have to find 9 squirrels, which requires a lot of wandering and climbing. One of the squirrels is hidden past this wall, which I found completely by chance. I don't know how anyone would know you can pass through here. Also, when you're running through the treetops, you may fall prey to one of the most annoying aspects of the game: fall damage. Putting fall damage in platformers is one of those things I despise. It doesn't take off too much damage, but it is still annoying, particularly when there's very little health pickups in the very large levels. You can also run into Monsieur Alphonse, the Undertaker, who by throwing stuff at him will distract the soldiers by pretending to carry out a funeral service or something. Take the bomb and the squirrels to the Hitler Scarecrow thing, and you'll plant the bomb, exploding half of Renee's clothes in the process, and completing the level. Following on from that, level 4 has you in a dungeon where you need to free some British airmen and members of the resistance. You'll notice that Renee is still charred from the explosion at the end of the last level, and he stays that way for the rest of the game. Poor Renee. This level is more of the same, hunting around a maze of corridors. You'll have to first find the keys that are held by Officer Crabtree, who's through the first door you see, so you don't really need to find them at all. Now you can unlock all of the jail cells. It's not too bad, but the enemy placements and the constantly respawning bats make things more annoying, particularly if you run out of things to throw at them. Now we have arrived at the chateau, the site of many schemes in the show, where we have to find the notes that contain the code for the safe, a whole 11 of them. This is by far the worst level. It's huge and it's easy to miss an item and have no idea where to look for it. It would be so much better if there was an arrow or some kind of clue on the HUD that could help you find these items. There's an underground area where a furnace is, and the chateau proper, filled with doors to go in and out of, including rooms that are in complete darkness, and you'll have to try and find doors to get out or even platform through. Persevere through this though, and you'll open the safe before heading to the exit on the roof and completing the game. Yep, only 5 levels, but I think that's more than enough. The ending shows how Renee escapes using a balloon disguised as a wood pigeon. Again, it seems like something that would have happened on the show. You make your way back to the cafe, where there's a party apparently, and Renee and Yvette sneak away to uncover a hidden plane and elope to England with the airmen. I mean, they don't elope with the airmen, they go with the airmen to England, but they alone elope. You know what? It doesn't matter anyway, that's not canon. The conclusion of the show had happened at this point, and that did not happen. Nor did it in the specials that took place after. Either way, we're done with this game. It's not too long, but padded out with a lot of searching the levels and going around them multiple times to find the items you need. Limited numbers of healing items and items to attack with also make things even more difficult if you run out, and just seem incompatible with the constant backtracking of the level design. The cartoony renditions of the characters are nice and recognisable. The music is very accordion oriented, reminiscent of the show's opening. The gameplay on the whole is serviceable, but it's just a bit basic, especially for a 1993 game. As mentioned earlier, the Amiga computers were very much at the end of their life cycle, and Allo Allo doesn't stand out as anything worthwhile. The only thing we have left to talk about is the 2-player mode. While one player plays as Renee, a second can play as Michelle of the Resistance. Both players are controlled simultaneously, but you can switch between which player the game is focusing on, allowing each player to separate and explore different parts of the level. Even though the players might be in completely different places, however, they can still be controlled even when off screen, so you have to be careful where you leave them when swapping around. It's a very interesting and well-functioning mechanic that is very suitable for such a game, where you have to cover a large level to search for things, although sharing the ammunition and health pickups makes things a bit trickier. Oh, and the person who the game is focusing on is shown by having the corresponding portrait at the bottom of the screen stick their tongue out, for some reason. It's difficult to say someone would be disappointed in this game, because I doubt anyone was actually asking for a game based on the series, but you could say that for a lot of licensed games. Speaking of which, there's many more in the weird world of licensed games, so join me next time for another dive into the world of video game adaptations you didn't know existed, wanted, or needed.